5 critical skills that you need to know. Every year there's a new list. The 10 most in-demand skills or capabilities that'll make you indispensable or whatever the new thing is. It's always some new thing that you got to develop right now before the job market shifts again, and you don't want to have a set of qualifications that nobody wants and all that yada yada yada. I've read like 1,000 of these lists, and here's what it is. It's basically just the same 4 skills plus whatever became trendy in the last 18 months. This year it's AI. Before that it was data literacy. Before that it was something else. Everybody starts their new cycle of panic as soon as the new list is out, and then they go buy an online course about it, and then nobody actually changes anything, because if you bothered to even open or implement the course, by the time you get invested in the new skill, there's already a fresh list telling you that that skill's now irrelevant and oversaturated, it's obsolete, and the real thing you need to be doing is something totally different, of course. You need to spend more money about it. It's just a hamster wheel with good branding. What I want to talk to you about today is a different list, because it's got zero trending potential. Why? Well, because it's skills. Skills have never stopped being relevant. They were valuable 50 years ago. They're valuable today. They're going to be valuable in like 50 years from now, regardless of what the economy looks like, or technology, or whatever the new wave of listicles looks like. Listicles. There's 5 of them. So let's get right on into it. Skill number 1 is the ability to communicate clearly, not eloquently. You don't have to talk like you attended Harvard and not speak like you sound like Poindexter. Just be clear about what you're saying. Clear communication means that you understand what somebody needs to know, why they need to know it, and you deliver that information in a way that will actually land for them. Nothing more and nothing less. It's not the same thing as dumbing things down, because that's patronizing and usually just replaces real information with vibes. I know you've probably heard people say it like they're 5 years old. I just don't recommend it. It's rude. And those vibes, they're not really good. You're just making people feel like an idiot, to be honest. But it's also not the kind of like professional word soup where everything just sounds important and nothing actually is. You know those conversations where they use so many big words that you get lost and you've got no idea what just happened, but you're pretty sure you're not going to get those lost minutes of your life back? Here's a quick test. Think about the last email you sent, or the last like professional capacity phone call that you needed to get a response from somebody. Did you get the response that you wanted, or did you get a reply asking more information that you have already answered? Because it may not be the person not paying attention. I mean, like, usually it's not. It's a clarity problem. You're not articulating in a way that clearly provided the information they needed in one go. So now they need to suddenly clarify everything and make you say it all again. The only exception is usually with automated systems. I get so irritated when I have to tell 25 bots in a row what I'm trying to do, and I still get to the end of the line and the human asks me again, like I didn't just press 2 and 5 and 1 and 4 and 7 on that keypad to reach them with my very specific problem that can apparently only be addressed by hitting that exact combo of numbers on the menu. But I digress. But just remember, the person who can consistently get information into somebody else's head in a form they can use is going to be useful everywhere, forever and ever. Every industry, every level, every era. There's never been a point in history where someone said, well, we have enough clear communicators, we're all set. Nope, that doesn't happen. The second skill is being able to learn. Specifically, the skill of learning how to learn, which sounds like something a productivity coach would say, and I'm definitely not that, but it's genuinely the most important thing on the list, because every other skill that you're going to need can be developed or learned if you know how to learn effectively. And every expertise you currently have will eventually become partially or fully obsolete. So that's not even pessimism. That's just how knowledge and technology and industries and everything just works. The question isn't whether the things that you know will change, because you definitely know they're going to. It's just how fast that you can learn the new information. Most people are genuinely bad at learning as adults. And it's not because they're less smart, but it's because the environment that they're in now, it stopped requiring it. They're not in school anymore. They're not using their learning muscle every single day. School creates like this external pressure to learn things, and work mostly doesn't. Work rewards just knowing things, not actually learning them. So the learning muscle just basically goes to sleep. And then one day you're in a situation where you need to pick something up new, like really quick, and you can't figure out why it's taking so long to figure it out. And that's exactly why, because you haven't practiced learning in years. So the antidote is just to keep learning things on purpose. And it doesn't have to be professionally relevant. Like, learn something just because you're curious about it, and like take it seriously. If you can even notice what makes things stick for you. A lot of people don't realize that they'll think that they learn by reading stuff, but they actually learn by doing, and they're not realizing that. If you're actually hands-on with something, you are more likely to remember it and learn it faster. So books alone, that doesn't work. You can't just read your way into smartness. It's also why I have a membership portal of tools that's going to help you implement the free book that goes along with this podcast. But we'll talk more on that later before I do another digress. Skill number 3 is the ability to solve problems, and not in a specific domain. The general capacity to just be able to look at a situation where something isn't working, figure it out, know why it's broken or it isn't working, and figure out what to do about it. And then, actually do the thing instead of waiting for somebody else to come around. This is harder than it sounds because it requires being comfortable with incomplete information, which most people are not. We wait until we have the full picture before we act. And that's a reasonable instinct in a stable environment. And if you're in an emergency, that's terrible. In an emergency, I'm going to wait for more information is a very bad decision. It's usually very passive, and it'll lead to expensive mistakes. Real problem solving is just being able to say, hey, here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's my options given those constraints, here's my best move right now. Even if the best move isn't a winning move. Sometimes you're just in a situation where there isn't a winning move. And the skill at that point becomes, it's just figuring out what's the least bad choice and moving on. Accepting that sometimes you lose, even with the best play, it's all just part of the skill. Here's the thing about this one in a professional setting. It's kind of like dangerous if you work in corporate. This is just a side note. Corporate structures are designed around staying within like defined processes and systems. And it's been my experience seeing that someone who solves problems that fall outside of those systems, they stand out, and not in a good way. The phrase, "that's not how we do things here," is really doing a lot of heavy lifting in organizations. So you might find that skill is more valued outside of corporate structures. In corporate, you just want to do what you're told. Skill number 4 is being able to build real relationships, not networking. I want to make that distinction clear because like networking has just become a word that makes people want to take a shower. It's mostly overused and meaningless in a real capacity. Let me tell you why. When most people say networking, they mean going to an event, handing out business cards, connecting on LinkedIn, and then occasionally emailing somebody that you barely know and ask for a favor. And that's not a relationship. That's a transaction cosplaying as a relationship. People can feel the difference and they respond accordingly, which is to say they don't respond at all, or they're going to respond with something polite, but it's not going to go anywhere. Networking is very cringy and it feels salesy because everybody's there for the same purpose, but somehow it feels gross, even when you're doing it too. What I'm talking about, it's just the genuine human capacity to develop a friendship and trust with other people and understand what they care about and build toward a mutual investment that makes a relationship real and valuable. The world has always run on this. It always will. Now, let me tell you why this matters beyond just career advancement. Your relationships are your resource bank, and I mean that in a very, very literal sense. We will talk more on this later, but for now, I want to provide you with this. Just think about everybody that you know and what they're good at. Your neighbor who's an electrician, your college friend who became an accountant, the person in your community that has a truck and apparently never needs it because they're always saying yes when somebody asks to borrow it, your coworker who knows literally everyone at every company in the industry, your cousin who's bizarrely good at negotiating with insurance companies and seems to do it for fun. Now think of what you have to offer in return. Your skills, your time, your knowledge, your contacts, your equipment, the thing you're usually good at that other people find difficult. That exchange and knowing what others have and knowing what you have is a form of infrastructure. When money gets tight or systems get disrupted, or you just need something that you can't easily buy, that network is what you draw on. And that is how things have worked for most of human history. And that's how they'll keep working when more formal systems become unreliable or unavailable. That is literally your resource bank. Skill 5. To be physically capable. Now, stay with me, because I know this is the one that sounds like I'm about to recommend that everybody become a homesteader who chops their own wood and bakes sourdough. I'm not. Though I think those are great skills to have. But that said, there is something genuinely important here. Physical capability just means the ability to do stuff with your hands and maintain your own household at a basic level so that you're not entirely dependent on other people or institutions for just ordinary functioning of your life. Really, it's the skill that pays off most directly when things get disrupted. The person that can fix household problems without calling and waiting for people to show up, and you have fewer dependencies, and it makes life so much cleaner. Fewer things that break when the environment becomes unstable, you save more money, and that's its own reward. It's the least glamorous benefit, but it's definitely its own reward to be able to fix things, not pay, not wait. You just go and do. You don't even have to be a contractor. You just know how to shut off your water main, change a faucet, or, patch a wall, hang something without creating a structural problem in your house. Keep your living space functional. That's really just the bar. It's not high. It's just, it's more than just saying, I have a number to call. The physical health piece matters too, and not because you should be athletic, but because basic physical maintenance, being able to move your body and sleep adequately, and not treating your body like it's a machine that's just going to run indefinitely with, bad inputs, directly determines your capacity to do everything on the list. It is literally foundational. And as a bonus to that, when you have all of those skills, you become more valuable than everyone who doesn't. You can use those skills to barter, make extra money, and even assist in a true emergency. And when shit hits the fan, you're automatically the person in charge and not the one being looked at as who we eat first. So, that's basically your 5 skills. I'm working on a lot of them. So, the best thing I did with my drill was scare my cat. I'm terrible at communication. Everybody knows this. Seriously, I'm not that great. I'm working on all these things too. So don't feel bad if you are lacking in some of those areas. But just, of those 5 skills, start working on some of them just a little bit at a time. Make a list of resources that you could offer people and just go out into your community and just start being valuable by being somebody else's resource. Make a list of the things that you don't know how to do around the house and start tackling it one thing at a time. There's lots of actionable things to do from this episode if you really want to be resilient and more self-reliant. Because remember, nobody is coming to save you, and that's okay. The free book is at andrea-oliver.com/no one's coming. It's also in the show notes. If you want the actual tools in the community, the membership is $7 a month at andrea-oliver.com off.It/join. The show's new. It's entirely supported by people who find it useful enough to tell others about it. If that's you, sharing this episode with just one person is the most useful thing that you can do, and it's part of the relationship skill where you get to be useful to someone who needs the information. See how it all comes together? If you have feedback, let me know. I want to hear it. I genuinely want you to reach out. I'll see you next time.